It was a chilly Tuesday evening at Bella's Bistro, a family-owned restaurant known for its cozy charm and comforting home-cooked meals. The place was tucked away on a quiet corner of the city where the bustle of the busy streets met the peaceful hum of small-town life. Sophia, the 25-year-old waitress, was moving through the restaurant like a seasoned pro. It was her fifth double shift in a row, and she could feel the exhaustion weighing down on her shoulders, her legs aching with every step. The familiar sounds of clinking silverware, the sizzle of steaks on the grill, and the laughter of families and friends filled the air. She smiled through it all because she had to. Rent was due. Her mother's hospital bills were piling up again, and Sophia's own dreams of medical school folded up and put away, like the acceptance letter that still sat at the back of her closet. She glanced toward the front entrance just as a soft chime rang out. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, stepped in slowly, holding a pink backpack in one hand and tugging at her oversized coat with the other. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, her brown curls wild around her face, and her eyes scanned the diner like she wasn't quite sure if she belonged. Sophia's immediately noticed something odd. The girl was alone. She watched the child shuffle quietly to a corner booth and climb up onto the seat. No adult followed her in. No one joined her. When Sophia approached the table, she saw that the little girl had set her napkin across her lap, but her plate was completely empty. "Hi there, sweetheart," Sophia said gently, kneeling to her level. "Are you waiting for someone?" The girl shook her head, eyes fixed on the table. Her voice came out small. "I'm not hungry. I just wanted to sit somewhere warm." Sophia's heart clenched. She recognized that kind of hunger, not just the kind that twisted your stomach, but the kind that made you feel invisible. "Well," Sophia said, standing up and softening her voice, "how about some soup? It's warm and perfect for cold nights like this." "On the house, okay?" The girl looked up, surprised. "Really?" "Really?" Sophia walked toward the kitchen, unaware of the sharp eyes following her every move from the far corner of the restaurant. A man, in his mid-40s, impeccably dressed in a navy coat and crisp collar, sat with a steaming coffee he hadn't touched. Miles Whitaker, billionaire CEO of Whitaker Enterprises, hadn't planned to be here, but plans had a funny way of changing when it came to his daughter. And right now, he was watching the waitress who had shown more kindness in 30 seconds than most people had in his entire boardroom. Sophia returned minutes later with a warm bowl of tomato basil soup, 2 slices of buttered toast, and a small cup of hot cocoa topped with a single marshmallow, because every kid deserved a marshmallow. She placed the tray gently in front of the little girl, who was still sitting quietly, hands folded neatly in her lap. "I hope you like it," Sophia said softly. The girl looked up. Her eyes were clearer now, like the fog of hunger had started to lift. She offered a tiny, grateful smile. "Thank you." Sophia smiled back, trying not to let the ache in her chest show. "You're welcome. I'm Sophia, by the way." "Emily," the girl replied, almost in a whisper. Sophia nodded and stepped back, letting Emily eat in peace. She watched from behind the counter as the child dipped her toast into the soup, her fingers trembling slightly, like she still wasn't convinced the food was truly hers. She didn't eat fast like most hungry kids. She savored it. Every bite was careful, intentional. In the corner booth, Miles Whitaker hadn't moved. His phone buzzed twice, ignored. He hadn't planned to let Emily wander in alone, but she'd slipped away from their car while he was taking a business call outside. By the time he realized she was gone, he'd found her through the diner's wide glass window, sitting at that booth with nothing in front of her but a napkin and empty hands. He had paused at the door, ready to rush in, until he saw what happened next. Sophia. She didn't panic, didn't judge, didn't call the cops or demand to know where the child's parents were. She simply helped. Gently. Kindly. As if Emily wasn't a problem to be solved, but a person to be seen. And for someone like Miles, who'd built his entire world on identifying people's motives, predicting outcomes, and filtering kindness through suspicion, it was almost jarring to witness. The waiter approached to refill his coffee. "Anything else, sir?" Miles waved him off. No, just the check, please. But his eyes never left Sophia. Back at the booth, Emily had finished nearly every drop of soup. She sat up straighter now, her tiny legs swinging beneath the table. When Sophia returned to check in, the girl reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small, wrinkled paper flower. It's not real, Emily said, holding it out shyly. But I made it. Sophia blinked in surprise, touched beyond words. It's beautiful, she said. I love it. Just then, the bell over the door jingled. Miles finally stood, adjusting his coat as he walked toward the front. He moved with the calm confidence of someone used to attention, though his steps now were hesitant, measured. Sophia? He asked quietly, his voice smooth but low. She turned around, surprised that he knew her name. Yes? He looked down at the paper flower in her hand, then back at her face. I think we need to talk about her. He nodded toward Emily. Sophia's stomach tightened. Was she in trouble? Sophia's mind scrambled as she followed the man to a quieter corner of the diner. The kitchen clatter faded, and all she could hear was the soft hum of the heater and the slight shuffle of Emily's feet under the table. The man extended his hand. Miles Whitaker. The name rang a faint bell. It sounded familiar, maybe from one of the finance headlines she barely had time to skim while waiting in hospital lobbies. I'm sorry. Is something wrong? Sophia asked, heart pounding. I didn't mean to. No, not at all, Miles interrupted gently. Actually, I want to thank you. Sophia blinked. For what? He glanced toward Emily, who was now tracing her finger around the rim of her cocoa cup. For how you treated my daughter, with kindness, with dignity. You didn't know who she was. You didn't care. You just helped. Sophia felt the tension in her chest slowly shift. I just saw a little girl who needed food and warmth, that's all. Miles nodded, but there was something in his eyes, an unfamiliar softness that sat beneath years of practiced restraint. That's not all to me. He paused, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a crisp business card, sliding it across the table. Whitaker Enterprises, Sophia read aloud. Then her eyes widened. You're that Miles Whitaker? He offered a quiet smile. Guilty. Sophia stared down at the card like it might vanish. This wasn't just some local businessman. This was the billionaire who owned half the tech in the city. The man who'd made headlines for buying out 3 major firms in under 2 years. The one whose name got whispered in boardrooms and printed in glossy magazine profiles. I don't understand, she said slowly. You will, he replied. But first, let me explain something. Emily's mother passed away 3 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to be both, father and mother, but it's hard. She's quiet, observant, kind. She doesn't trust easily. He glanced again at the booth. But she trusted you. Sophia's throat tightened. I want to offer you something, Miles said. Not charity, not pity. An opportunity, a position at my company. I think your empathy could do more than just help a stranger feel seen. It could change lives. Sophia opened her mouth to protest. I'm not qualified. I didn't finish college. I never even started my pre-med classes. You don't need a degree to be decent, Miles said simply. You need heart, and you have that. He stood and buttoned his coat. Think about it. Come by the office tomorrow if you're curious. Then he added, no pressure. But some chances only come once. As he turned to leave, Sophia stood frozen, the business card still in her hand. From the booth, Emily looked up and gave her a small wave. And for the first time in a long time, Sophia felt something stir, hope. The next morning, Sophia stood outside the gleaming glass tower of Whitaker Enterprises, nerves buzzing beneath her thrift store blouse and borrowed heels. Her mom had smiled weakly from the hospital bed when Sophia told her about the offer. Go see what it is, her mother had whispered, her voice raspy. Maybe it's your turn. Now here she was, out of place, underdressed, and wondering if this whole thing was some kind of elaborate mistake. She took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors. Inside, the lobby was sleek and cold, all chrome accents and polished marble floors. Everything about it screamed money, precision, power. A receptionist looked up and offered a polite smile. "You must be Sophia?" She nodded, gripping her tote bag tighter. "Mr. Whitaker is expecting you. 11th floor. Just take the private elevator." As Sophia stepped into the glass elevator, her reflection stared back at her, uncertain but determined. She remembered Emily's face, that small, grateful smile. That was real. Whatever this was, it had started from something true. When the elevator doors opened, Miles was already waiting. He didn't wear a tie today. His sleeves were rolled, but he still looked every bit the man who could shift a market with a single sentence. "Glad you came," he said. "Come in." His office was vast, with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. But it wasn't cold. There were photos of Emily on the shelves, smiling, painting, building Lego towers. A few crayon drawings pinned to the wall. A small, pink hoodie slung over the back of a chair. "You've built something powerful here," Sophia said, looking around. "Yes," he replied, "but something's missing." She turned to him. "We have all the money in the world," Miles continued, "but very little heart. I want to change that. I want people to see our name and think compassion, not just profit." He handed her a folder. Initiatives, community outreach, pediatric support, education programs. We've funded them, but we've never truly connected with the people they're meant to help. I need someone who understands people. Someone like you. Sophia opened the folder and skimmed the proposals, her fingers brushing over bold titles: free clinics, after-school tutoring, meal support for struggling families. She looked up. "Why me?" "Because you saw a little girl with nothing on her plate and chose to give," he said, "not out of pity, out of humanity." Sophia swallowed the lump rising in her throat. "I can't promise I won't mess up," she said quietly. "I've never done anything like this." Miles smiled. "Good, that means you're honest." He stood. "So, will you join us?" Sophia looked out the window. The city stretched wide below, bright, intimidating, and full of unknowns. But maybe, just maybe, it was finally time she stepped into something bigger. She nodded. "Yes, I'm in." Sophia's first few weeks at Whitaker Enterprises felt like learning a new language in a room full of people who already spoke it fluently. Her team wore suits, used buzzwords, and typed faster than she could think. She showed up in modest cardigans, took notes in a worn leather journal, and carried peppermint tea instead of coffee. At first, the others looked at her like she didn't belong, but she had something they didn't. She listened. She didn't interrupt during meetings. She didn't try to sound impressive. She asked questions that made people pause and think. When she visited one of the company's underfunded community centers, she sat on the floor with a group of kids and played board games before suggesting any changes. "Most of our outreach directors stay 10 minutes and leave with a selfie," one of the local volunteers whispered. "You've been here 3 hours and haven't posted a thing." Sophia smiled. "I'm not here for a picture. I'm here to help." Word started to spread. At headquarters, team members who once brushed past her began stopping by her desk. They asked her opinion, invited her to strategy meetings. One even asked if she would lead the next site visit downtown. And all the while, Sophia remembered her roots. She knew what it meant to sit in a hospital hallway without knowing how to pay the bill. She knew what a hot meal could mean when you hadn't had one in days. She didn't need spreadsheets to tell her what mattered. Miles noticed. Late one afternoon, he stopped by her office, though she hadn't even realized she had an office until someone quietly hung a plaque with her name on the door. "You're doing more than I hoped," he said. "I'm just doing what I'd want someone to do for me," she replied. He nodded slowly, "Which is exactly what we needed." Then he handed her a manila envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Your promotion, Director of Community Partnerships, full benefits, matching 401k, and a significant salary bump." Sophia's jaw dropped. I I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep doing what you're doing, Miles said simply. You've changed how this company connects to the world. She sat there stunned as he left the room. Later that night, Sophia pulled into the driveway of her small apartment and quietly slipped inside. Her mother was resting in bed, pale but peaceful. The stack of unpaid bills on the counter no longer felt like a death sentence. She could pay them now, all of them. As she sat beside her mother and held her hand, Sophia whispered, "We're going to be okay now." And she meant it. Not because a billionaire had given her a job, but because her kindness had created a door, and she dared to walk through it. 6 months later, the weather had turned warm again, and Bella's bistro buzzed with familiar laughter and clinking glasses. The same old mismatched chairs, faded checkered floors, and cinnamon-laced air. But this time, Sophia wasn't carrying a tray or scribbling down orders. She was a guest. Dressed in soft blue and smiling shyly, she sat by the window where the light spilled in, right across from Emily. The little girl beamed as she sipped a strawberry milkshake, her curls tied neatly with a ribbon. Across the booth, Sophia laughed as Emily recounted her day at school. "We're planting sunflowers for science," she said proudly, "and I got to help pick the seeds." "That's amazing," Sophia said. "Sunflowers are strong, just like you." Emily grinned, then leaned in to whisper, "Daddy says I'm brave, but I think you made me brave first." Sophia's heart melted. Miles arrived moments later, a rare smile softening his usual stoic expression. He greeted the waitress warmly, then turned to Sophia. "We've got to be at the community gala by 7, he reminded her. She nodded. "I'll be ready." The gala wasn't for her, but she would be one of the honored guests. The event marked the official launch of Whitaker Enterprises' new initiative, Project Heartline, a network of mobile pediatric clinics and after-school programs for underserved families. The kind of thing Sophia used to dream of during sleepless nights beside her mother's hospital bed. Now, she wasn't just dreaming it. She was leading it. Before they left the diner, Sophia asked to step away for a moment. She moved toward the counter, where a young waitress with tired eyes and scuffed shoes was restocking napkins. Sophia tapped her shoulder gently. "Hi," the girl looked up, startled. "I used to work here," Sophia said, "and I just wanted to tell you, keep being kind. Even when no one sees it, someone always does." Then she pressed a small envelope into the waitress's hand. Inside was a crisp $100 bill and a note that read, "From one tired dreamer to another, don't give up." Back outside, Sophia joined Miles and Emily as they walked toward the sleek black car waiting by the curb. She glanced back one last time at the diner, the place where everything had changed. Not because of luck, not even because of Miles, but because of one small decision to help someone who needed it. That night at the gala, as applause echoed through the grand ballroom, Sophia took the stage. She looked out at the crowd, not of investors, but of families, teachers, nurses, and kids who would now have access to care, support, and warmth. "When I saw a little girl with nothing on her plate," she began, "I didn't know anyone was watching. I just knew what it felt like to be hungry, not just for food, but for hope." The room fell silent. And what I've learned since is that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can ripple into something bigger than we ever imagined. She smiled down at Emily in the front row. And sometimes it changes everything.